Evening all. So as we go into Fitting Dust 5037, I mean, God, I'm still not doing many fittings, am I? I'm proud to announce that the Series 4 is almost ready to launch. We've been working, well, Trev's working on the artwork now, but we are going to do a Series 4. We're going to call it our final series of Dust. And it's going to have a bit of a fitting kind of place, because it is going to be the final series we do on Dust, and then it will be the transition into Legion, which I hope is still coming. I don't hear anything from it. Post in the comments if you've heard anything about Legion since maybe FanFest. I know screenshots have been leaked and shown and shared and stuff, but I think at the moment it's still very difficult to see what on earth is going on with Legion. So CCP, if you're watching, then give us a bit of a sneak peek, give us an update, whatever you can. Now let me give you a bit of an analogy here, because there is something definitely going on at CCP which is worthy of comment. Number one, seems to be a lot of movement at the board level. So David Reed, the CMO, has now gone. He is the CMO who basically presided over I think probably one of the worst periods of marketing for CCP. They never seemed to advertise. It wasn't long ago that you would see EVE adverts everywhere. Over the Escapist, over every website you went to would have an EVE advert. He was also responsible for pretty much never advertising Dust as well. So I think we had Gunnar Nelson had Dust emblazoned on his buttock cheeks, which was just a fantastic marketing program. GG, well done there. And that's it. They never really advertised it ever. So I think really it's kind of a shame that was always the case. But he's now gone. So he is now apparently left. So this is because they've closed the Seattle office. Is it Seattle or San Francisco? I think it's San Francisco. But either way, they've closed the office where that person sat. They've also lost their CFO, which is a big deal because CFOs usually run the business, quite honestly. They do run the business pretty much. They're at least the number two. The fact that CCP have lost their CFO, to me, just screams they're about to be purchased. Because when it's funny, because the company I work for at the moment is going through exactly this. We're going through, quote, a merger stroke acquisition. And you just know, you can feel it coming. That pretty much if they're looking to sell it in some way. This is again speculation. I'm only just giving you my opinion, but I know from having been through many M&A projects that this feels like what's happening. Anyway, so I think the reality is that CCP is probably looking to sell or to be purchased either way. And I think this will be kind of an interesting scenario because it will really pretty much dictate what happens to all of these products. I suspect this is probably why Legion has gone dark, if I'm honest. If I was a betting man, I would say that Legion has gone quiet because they're not really going to have any certainty when they're looking to perhaps be purchased, if they'll be able to finish this project. Because it's not being green lit as well suggests that it's not going to be if it's purchased. Now I'll give you an example. Sony Online Entertainment. That's a good example of a company that would buy CCP because it would give them a space game that's obviously well established and pretty good, and it would give them access to things like Valkyrie and Oculus Rift development, which obviously they do have, but it would give you that kind of ability to do a lot more with it. And I think that's going to be an interesting one because obviously Sony Online Entertainment have got PlanetSide, so I can't imagine they would be too thrilled about another competitor for that. So I think at the moment, if I was honestly a betting man, I would say that these are probably some of the reasons, if not maybe all of the reasons, as to why there is a collective silence over a lot of these products. To be honest, is it a bad thing? No. Mergers are very rarely a bad thing, generally in the long run. Usually in the short term, projects get cancelled and bad stuff happens. But I honestly don't think it would be a bad thing for CCP because it would bring perhaps the stability and also the push of new customers for EVE that's needed. And remember, EVE has to be the dominant product here. EVE is the one that pretty much is what sells the universe. Dust and Valkyrie are byproducts of that. So I think that is the reality of that. Now, I don't know why it's taking so long. Most mergers happen within 6 months to a year. They don't drag on. So if they are being purchased or merged or whatever, then there's definitely something maybe that does suggest that that's not happening because it has been so long now. But when you think about it, FanFest was about 6 months ago now, and we have not heard anything about Dust at all. Legion rather. There is the potential that because of games like Destiny, They're redesigning the game. Maybe they're using some of that input from those kind of products. But at the moment, it really is uncertain what the flipping hell is going on from that point of view. But there we go. I'm not going to probably talk too much more about that. I think the reality is CCP is certainly, there's something going on, because much like, you know, you're watching a couple across the road screaming and shouting at each other, but you can't hear them because they're behind a plate glass window and you can just see vigorous arm movements and anger. That's certainly what it feels like with CCP at the moment. It does feel like something's going on, but I couldn't tell you what. But I think from a Dust point of view, you know, I mean, Dust's stewardship is currently under CCP Ritati, and I think he's doing a good job. I think he's doing an excellent job, in fact, because he does seem to understand what the errors of the product are. To a degree, I think the whole dropship thing was wrong, but hey, you know, I could be wrong as well. So I think from his point of view, if he felt that that was needing change, then fair enough. I would hope that he looks holistically at the game and really tries to make the game much more fun for everybody. I think at the moment the game is being made better for veterans of a certain playstyle who don't like dropships because they're hard to kill. With the, you know, the 5% of dropshippers who are good would rarely die because they were, quote, good. Whereas now they're pretty much guaranteed to die because swarm launchers are basically the aim-assisted auto easy mode gun, and it's kind of sad that that was the required level that they had to do with swarm launchers to make them basically insta-kill everything. I don't like that. I think that was wrong. I think they could have done just so much more avoiding that. But anyway, I'm not going to wax lyrical on that. I'm a big believer if that's what they want to do, it's their game, they can do what the piss they like. And I think from my point of view, yeah, the game is fun. It is really good fun. I'm still loving the scout kind of hunter killer prey style of gameplay. I love the plasma cannon. It's pretty good now as well. I mean, it's this is old footage. I think this is the old plasma cannon, but either way, it's kind of fun stuff. And I would recommend that you find a fit that currently isn't completely rubbish. You know, that is quite important, because I think a lot of the time, if you're trying to sort of shoehorn a fit and continue, like for example dropshippers, if you're still trying to use dropships, you're probably going to get really frustrated. And I think just stop using them, try something different for a while and see how you get on. And I think, look at this is the old Flaylock. It's now got 4 rounds in the chamber. I mean, that's pretty cool, isn't it? I like that. So I think generally, you know, you have to kind of just adapt with the game. And I think if that's the decision that's been made across the board for a number of different guns, then so be it. Because I think holistically, you just have to move with the game. I think generally there is still an incredibly fun game to be had here. You do have to avoid the kind of power players, because I think there is still, but it's like any game, there is a group of players who generally will just use the exploits and cheats and hacks and broken bits of the game to benefit themselves. And it's always going to be that way, no matter what game you play. Even Elite Dangerous has this now. You just have to accept that that, unfortunately, is the way of things. But it's not a kind of big deal if you can just avoid these people. And I think generally, I find that the best thing to do is just to moderate your gameplay. People seem to have this really big thing where if I leave battle, it's some form of big statement. Usually it's not. If I join a map and it's like Ashlands, you know Ashlands, with the big ship in the middle, and the first thing I see is a dropship going up to the high point, I'll leave match, because what is the point of playing against that kind of tactic? The same for a lot of these maps. I mean, this one as well, the big tower in the middle of this map, if you see people going for the very high point, that very big tower in the middle, then I'll also leave, because the reality is what they're going to do is is glitch the spawn pads into the corners of the tower, which are impossible to get. So basically they're cheating to win, and it's like, well, if you want it that much, it's all you, brother, it's all you. And I just leave because, you know, at the end of the day, I want to have a good fun fight. And I think Domination and Skirmish are pretty awful rounds now. I think if you want to have just a good fight, you're probably better off in Ambush. Ambush is kind of fun, because even if you get like completely stepped on and stomped, it's only going to last 10 minutes, 5 minutes at most. And I think that's a round that I'm just much more enjoying generally, because you can't use the bullshit tactics. Yeah, there's kind of tanks and stuff like that, but just again, you can leave that. You don't have to stick around. If the map and the tactics suck balls, then just move on, and I think you'll find that actually there's a much more fun round to be had somewhere else. There we go, look at that, we won. Woo-hoo. I think generally, if you can avoid the kind of the assholes who are just cheating to win, and you can just avoid the knobheads who think they're brilliant because they glitch spawn pads, then there is still a fantastically fun game here to be had. And I think you just need to avoid the tryhards. There we go. I haven't said that word for a while, have I? And I think it's still got some of the best run and gun around. As you run around a corner and you jump and you shoot flail up round into somebody and they just then cartwheel off into the distance. Oh, that's fun. And I think that's exactly the kind of game that I want to play. There we go. Hope you enjoyed that. We'll see you next time.